in terms of demographics, we used to be growing the labor force, for example, in the US at like around 2% before 2010. I think the level is about 2%. We're basically headed to like 0.3%. I think the forecasts are for like mid 2025. For basically 2025, so for the mid 20s. So in terms of like demographics and secular stagnation driven by demographics, I think we've already hit the worst in terms of like, pricing and in terms of expectations. After that, we basically have like all boomers retired, potentially, starting to divest. And so to the equilibrium between investment and savings is basically sort of like much less clear from 2025. And so in terms of like secular stagnation and demographics, I think we've basically priced what needed to be priced, which is basically like a labor force and trend growth that basically collapsed like 2%. Just because of like a lower population and labor force and probably lack of immigration as well. But I think that should be like, I don't think that's going to be driving markets as much, because I think it's sort of like an old story, and we're going to be headed to like different narrative on the demographic and savings, and like all those like imbalances are really changing from the middle of like 2020s. And I think in terms of like where we were going from 2 to 0 labor force growth, I think it's already priced, and it's sort of like pre-COVID kind of macro narrative that we're not going back to. Now, of course, if I'm wrong on escape velocity, which could be possible from like 2023, you're starting to see like a little bit of a slowdown, and then I'll be fast to like but that's not where we're headed right now. I mean, I'm trying to like think of like next trade, like 6 months, a year. What happened from there is just going to depend on where we are from there, and I'm not trying to really I hate forecast. I think you need to look at where you are like months after months. I've got a very strong idea of where we are. Unlike the Fed, I think I've got a very strong view that inflation and demand, the demand pool, is not temporary. And when I mean not temporary, I mean definitely it's gonna pull through into 2022. But don't ask me to tell you about 2023. I just don't know. I think it's already good to have really good idea about 2022.
Yeah, very pragmatic approach.